The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by Comictown. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for Comictown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step.
100!
Oh, I was going to say episode 100. Just yelled it into the mic. Jeez. Yes.
You done got.
This is episode 100.
100!
Yeah, thank you. I'm Morgan.
100!
And I'm here with Mike.
100.
And Dave.
Hey, guys.
And this is episode 100. We made it.
It is?
Yes, you've said it multiple times now.
It was a question. How can you not tell when I'm asking a question?
I answered your question. I said yes.
Oh, I mean all the times I said it.
Oh, no, you were just screaming it. It sounded like an expletive in all honesty.
Wow. So I'm sorry if you found 100 offensive.
I did. The many times you said it and at which you said it, the volume at which you said it, and not agree with me.
Wow. Well, I'm sure the volume of this podcast is not agreeing with a lot of people. Like, oh, they're still going? Oh, that's
Why is
cool.
Mike yelling in my ear repeatedly?
Yeah.
Oh, that's half the reason people turned in. I know I said turn in, not tune in, but I did. I said it.
Like, go to sleep? I don't know.
Not with me
That's
either.
when I talk. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Hey, Morgan, you and I have officially been here for 100 episodes.
Not even you. You've missed an episode. I have been here for 100 episodes.
Man, that's fair, I guess. All right, well, I'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 100. And then Dave,
I've been here for like probably 70-something.
so Dave will be back in like a long time.
I don't think we're doing individual
Yeah, this
episodes
is
here.
my episode 100.
We get more
Tried
cakes
and
that way, though. They're trying to space this out. We get more anniversary cakes if we have multiple anniversaries.
Okay, that's true. It's like having two Christmases. Anyway, as many of you might have seen, we have a new logo. It was basically something that we decided we wanted to do. Our old logo is something that we all think fondly of, but we wanted something a bit more simple. And you are seeing it right now on either your phone or if you're on our MTG Cast page or something like that. But it should be pretty much everywhere or on our Twitter and everything like that. So hope you guys like it. Hopefully we'll be having stickers soon enough. That's the next thing that we want to do is give something nice to hand out to people that isn't necessarily a business card, so you can put on your deck box and stuff like that. So
you can slap it on things and then be too lazy to take them off and inadvertently advertise to others for
yeah,
us.
we
like that.
actually really appreciate that. So if you want to stick that to like cars, your grandma, I don't know, anything with a surface, basically.
I wouldn't suggest grandma. Stickers tend to work on smoother surfaces.
Oh, that's true. Babies then. Slap it on your baby.
Or hairy surfaces. Dogs and cats work well.
Yeah,
Not
true.
fish, though. Sorry.
No, not on the fish bowl. Yes.
But I know Morgan and I have already received our play mats. We had ordered them, and they look so nice.
Oh, yeah.
So we're hopefully you'll notice them. Like because I was like, oh man, this looks sharp.
Yes.
So we're excited about this. This is
Yeah.
a little bit of a redesign. Hopefully, a little less fire. So if fire was a thing, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so I have to ask. So what was the reasoning behind the fire? Because I wasn't part of the original crew.
Honestly, so our original logo, when we started, we didn't have any sort of like money built up, and we hadn't really we didn't know where this was going to go, so we didn't really want to invest very much. And at the time, a friend of mine had just gotten into graphic design, was putting together his portfolio, and I threw it out to him like, "Hey, we have a lot of money." I said, "So if you want to say no, that's fine, but if you want to do this, it could be mutually beneficial, something, we're going to put this out there and hopefully, for you." And I don't know, he came back with that. We thought it looked nice. We didn't really ask for anything specific. We said, give us an idea. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it was built off of a fantasy trope. So just kind of fire and a ring, and I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to make this broad connection because I actually don't know, but I do know, the Hunger Games was popular at the time. Those are sort of the, and even the Lord of the Rings with sort of a ring shape with some sort of emblem behind it. It is sort of that sort of general idea. So it made sense. It's worked for us, but I think the new logo, we're not going to disassociate with that logo. So that's still us as well. So
Right. So I had fun with this one. I think we all had some good input into this.
We definitely, when we're looking at the different, like, how can we incorporate sound into it, we definitely we have this somewhere, I will share at some point. We definitely had a list of like fake Metallica album covers that were
Yeah, well, I actually still have those, so
like
we'll have
Ride
to
the
post
Lightning
those on
Bolt
Twitter.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was really funny at the time. It was really late after an episode of the podcast.
Yeah, it was like probably at least 1 a.m.
Yeah, we definitely had an idea of what we wanted. We had a bit more of a direction with this logo, and knew that we were going to put some funds towards it. So it was kind of nice to be able to have a goal in mind and actually have a finished product that we all really liked.
Yeah, so we really hope you guys like it. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, like this product here is hopefully what you like. But it would be nice if you go like, "Oh, this is a cool image. I like this image." You know what I mean? This makes sense to me.
I think this would be more recognizable, or like somebody that sees this logo can be like, "Oh, okay, it must be like a podcast." So that's kind of what we're going for.
To be fair, though, the item that is now depicted on our image, the deck box that also has headphones coming out of it, I want that. That's an item I would like to have.
Now we have to invent the
my
actual
deck
thing.
box MP3 player. Yeah, I'm in.
Then you can listen
To the podcast
our podcast
on
while
a deck
you're
box.
drafting or something.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
We did it, guys. That's $1 million idea.
You couldn't listen to the podcast while you're drafting, though, because we have such great information, it would be like cheating.
That's true.
Have you listened to our set review?
Shut
show?
up.
Anyway,
It's actually we don't really talk about limited that much.
No,
so
that's what I'm trying to
it
think
probably
of.
would be pretty bad.
yeah, don't do that. Anyway, so obviously we actually all just got back from vacation either today or Saturday. So we thought it was a great time to get together and record our 100th episode when we were all kind of tired. So yeah,
Fret not. We listened to some sweet kazoo music to get us pumped.
We did.
And just stick around for those credits.
yes, correct.
Stick
It
around.
might come back. Mike and I went on a vacation together with our significant others, and we went to Universal. And they have 2 parks. They have Universal and then Islands of Adventure, which that's how they get you, because you have to buy a cross pass ticket so you can get to both of them.
But then you get to ride the Hogwarts Express from one part of Harry Potter World to the other part.
You do get
and
to
the
do
little
that.
kid inside of you weeps with joy.
Yes, it's
So,
amazing.
it was a little awkward for Morgan, though. He left, he went to Florida with a girlfriend and didn't come back with one.
No, I came back with a fiance.
Ding!
Yeah, I got engaged when I was down there. I had the whole thing planned out for months. Was constantly harassed by friends and family as to when I was going to propose to my girlfriend, knowing that it was going to be soon, but could very well tell a lot of people that, and being concerned that the secret would get out, because I had been playing it cool for a very, very, very long time. So I really wanted it to be a surprise. And it was a magical time, and yeah, it was good. I was glad.
Like literally magical. Because
Quite
it was
very, very
in-
close to being magical.
They got engaged in the Owl Emporium in Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
And I consider myself a large Harry Potter fan, and she, blew me out of the water. So the emotional outpouring there for her was, yes, it was actually magical for her. It was,
Yes, correct.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty perfect.
Yeah, Morgan definitely had his chest puffed out the rest of the day, like he knew he'd done good. He's just like, yeah. And then of course they gave us buttons, for celebration buttons, because she was like, hey, we got engaged today. They're like, oh, here's these buttons, and those buttons were awesome because they definitely got us free fast passes to rides and stuff. They're like, oh, you're
Nice.
celebrating engagement? Tell them I sent you. And like, oh, what do we get to do? Oh, we get to cut the line? And it was great.
It's great.
So for those of you listening out there that plan on going to
Universal,
yeah.
be
Universal.
celebrating literally anything,
special
and
buttons.
it'll help out. Just it'll help out.
Tell Matt your step sent you.
Especially if it's 2 things, because we were celebrating an engagement, and it was also my fiance's birthday that day. So we got 2 buttons, and 2 buttons. You might as well own the park.
What's the highest level of button you can
I
get?
don't know,
Is that the max?
Birth?
yeah.
You're celebrating our park birth? I will say, you did mess up. I've said this before. You did mess up in that category. So he took her to her favorite place in the world on her birthday, and then asked, and then they got engaged. Never going to be able to live
Oh
up to
no,
that
nothing
day ever
ever,
again.
nothing will ever live up to
Yeah,
that day.
It's all
So
downhill.
Did you have a good day today? Not the best.
literally can't be the best ever again. So yeah, every day's kind of just downhill from here until I die.
So we got to see some cool things, and we also managed to convince our significant others that it would be totally cool to stop at some random stores on the way down. So
Oh, yeah.
we checked out an awesome store in Georgia, in Savannah, Georgia. So of course the name of the store was
Savannah Lions.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Is perfect.
And then what was the other one in Jacksonville?
Happy Viking.
Happy Viking. And you bought a bunch of battle box cards there.
Yeah, across both stores, got some foils, and I'm doing full art. So any of the full art cards that I can get, I'm putting those in there. And then I really like the IDW comic promos, the Dak Faden promos. So I've been doing those as well. So kind of mixing it up, not everything just foil, but little bit of differences between me and Mike's battle box.
I'm really happy that you're on the foiling out train. Now.
You have to have
It's
a quest. I feel like
Yeah, I'm sad.
yeah, you're done.
Like I'm done with mine.
You're
I'm like
fulfilled.
Oh, like,
Now you have to find another void to
oh,
you know.
it's Tron. I've already
okay.
started researching. But and then
Have fun finding that Judge promo Elish Norm.
it haunts my dreams.
Or the foil flooded
If
strands.
anybody thought about whatever, that's doable. I've seen those consistently.
Okay.
If anybody felt like, hey, that Transcept needs a cool 100th, episode present, I'm accepting new Phyrexia, like Phyrexian language, Elish Norns. I'm throwing it out there. Whatever.
I'm
But-
also accepting those.
No,
for different reasons.
dibs. But then we also went to Coliseum of Games, which is a chain in Orlando, and they were
In
actually
Florida in general, yeah.
well, in Florida, and actually they were closing one store and opening another one, so we got to go to this crazy 40% off sale and buy a bunch of awesome things, and then went and played FNM at their first ever FNM at the new store, where Morgan and I casually crushed all the local players.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
We both went undefeated, first and second. So we both got Serum Vision promos. Mike actually got 2 because he got the door prize because, I'm not lucky enough.
It's called value, sir. You should
Yeah.
live it sometime.
And then we both opened Jaces between either our draft or prize packs.
Yeah,
So,
it was cool.
It was
And
great.
The store itself was really nice too. Like
Yeah.
they were nice people, and their new store was had some really cool setup in it and everything. It was nice to see some stores on the way down, because we've stopped at random stores before and been like, this is a mistake. We should not have gone here. But all the stores we stopped at were really nice.
Yeah,
So
and really nice people, and then had some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, we were all pretty jazzed about that. Like, got a little bit of MTG on our vacation, which I feel like we desperately kind of needed after days of going to the park and walking around and being in the heat of Florida. We just needed some magic.
after spending all that money, I needed a win. That's
Yeah,
what
that's very true. I felt like I walked out of the F&M with more than I came in with, so that felt pretty good. Can't say that about walking out of Universal day after day and buying expensive food. Although it being very cool to eat in the Three Broomsticks and the Leaky Cauldron.
That was cool.
Very cool, in all honesty.
So how was your vacation, Dave? You seem to be making some faces
So
Did you see a dragon breathe fire? I did.
every 10 minutes.
no.
Oh.
So my vacation was more of kind of like just a family vacation. So my wife and daughter and I drove to Massachusetts to visit family for a week.
Cool.
Made a couple stops. So we stopped up in New Hampshire to visit my grandparents, and then went up to Maine for a day. So it was not as cool, I guess, as your vacation. But I had no magic involved in mine, so
Sad.
I did not play any magic. I didn't particularly watch any magic.
But welcome to episode 100.
Yeah,
Well, good.
guys.
Yeah, don't expect a whole lot from me. This
Just
week,
as
but
prepared as we always are.
Hey, I did a lot of good research for this episode, and I actually got
Fantastic.
to watch some coverage. But
I watched
hey,
it a little bit too, but anyway, well,
I'm glad. I'm glad you had a good vacation too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it wasn't exciting. Those are a bunch of states I haven't been to yet, so I've been to a lot of the southeastern states now. So I gotta go north now.
yeah, so when you're heading east, just go like north
Up instead of down. Gotcha.
Yeah.
check, gotcha. All right, so let's move on to we have just a little bit of community stuff. Actually,
we got a lot of community
we have a
stuff.
pretty sizable amount of community stuff, so I'm actually pretty excited.
I went through was typing this up and I was like, all right. So I got the league and I was like this. And I was like, oh, wait, from the vault happened. Oh man, this happened. All
Yeah,
right.
we have 2 weeks to catch up.
Yeah, and then we'll touch on competitive for a little bit. We're gonna talk about looks like 3 GPs that we're gonna discuss a little bit, and then we have a question of the week, and then our normal closing stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into the community segment. So first and foremost, the full spoiler for From the Vault Angels has been released. Definitely has some, as most from the vaults do, some interesting choices. At least the interesting choices do have some pretty nifty art.
That is true.
So we have, Sarah Angel, Avacyn, Angel of Hope, Teriel, the Reckoner of Souls, or Teriel, Reckoner of Souls, Iona, Shield of Emeria, Entreat the Angels, Baneslayer Angel, Platinum Angel, Lightning Angel, and Aurelia, the War Leader, Exalted Angel, Janara, Ashura of War, both the Chromas, so Angel of Wrath and Fury, Archangel of Strife, and then Iridescent Angel.
Iridescent Angel, like, makes me really sad because I don't think that card's like even EDH. I don't think it's playable, but it got the sweetest art out of all.
Yeah,
of
that
them.
art is like amazing. If let's see who did it.
Ryan Alexander Lee.
I don't think he's ever been. I don't think I recognize that name from any GPs or anything like that. But man, he would make a killing off of just like going to a GP, bringing like a million prints of this, and being like, all right.
Like I just love, like, if you look in the picture of this, like she's so like reflective of light that a horse has fallen down. Like it's just like, oh god,
It's so bright.
So this set overall, like value wise, definitely isn't bad. Like I don't think it's so. Like the question upon here is like, is this for us? Like, would anybody here consider buying this?
I mean, obviously they're singles. Like, I don't think I would. Maybe there might be enough value just to like buy it and take what you want, and then try to get rid of the rest. But I wouldn't like pay over MSRP for it.
Sure. I mean, I look at this, like I feel like the Therese Nielsen arts for a Chroma are both really, really good. So like I feel like those are going to be like big wants.
Yeah, I don't think I'm the I'm not the target audience for this
No,
type
no,
of
no, no.
I guess I'll have to shoot a message to Keller. I wonder if he would want this, because I wonder if any of these arts would break into Cube. Now I know the foiling process on these are pretty consistently rough, and like I like the Lightning Angel that goes back to having flavor text. That's pretty sweet. And I'm actually probably going to look to pick up one of these Ionas for Tron because I like that art a lot.
Yeah, I thought about it was kind of funny because I just recently cut Sarah Angel from my cube, and now has like a really sweet new art by Rebecca Gay. So I was like, maybe I'll put it back in just for this artwork, but probably not.
It is really good. I really enjoy her artwork in general, and that obviously it's artwork that has existed for quite some time, but never been on a playable card.
Yeah, her artwork is always, for me, it's always a throwback to like when I first started playing.
Yeah, part of me really hopes like this would be like hey, maybe we're gonna start like commissioning her again, but I don't even know if she'd be willing to commission for Magic again after like some of the awkward stuff they went through. But her art style, like, it's definitely not the kind that you can have. You couldn't have an entire set from her art style because it just doesn't. She's very much good at depicting like softer scenes, but the ones she does do like are just so awesome. Like I was at the Path to Exile that I play. Like I love that art. I remember like one of my favorite arts of all time, Seed Time, and that card is probably never going to see play again. But go back, Judgment, Seed Time. It was like if an opponent cast a blue spell on your turn, you could take another turn. It was a green card.
That was the Fact or Fiction hoser that they printed back in the day.
Right, but the card itself, like the art of like the woman like laying like in the field and everything, is like it's just gorgeous. So it's really cool to see her on like a high profile card again, even if it's something that she'd already done.
Yeah. If you get that Lightning Angel, though, Mike, you have to get it signed again. So.
Yeah, I know. I don't think
I mean,
Well, the
I'm
good
pretty
thing
sure
is,
Arcade Post is everywhere. So.
I'm pretty sure you'll be able to track them down.
I already looked for like, hey, who's going to be in like GP Indie? Like, let's see what they got. It's literally like Arcade Post and like the other person, like the two of the people out of the three. And Christopher Rush. It's just what do you guys do besides go to GPs?
Yeah, it's perfect. You'll be fine.
So I think this is definitely a better set overall than. Like, Annihilation.
Yeah.
Like that was, and I think it would be hard not to do well with this one. There's a few odd choices, but overall the set is probably going to make people happy.
Yeah, and I think like even if you're not looking at just the playability of the cards or the value, just angels in general are more collectible than something like mass removal spells. So
I like to see how many times the world got angry, so that's why I got Annihilation. So no, I think this is definitely a win for these sets. I think the more and more they make of these, the more and more like niche they're gonna have to be. You know what I mean? Like, hey, from the vault snakes.
They've kind of covered all the main ones. So
I definitely would buy that if they had a really cool Mystic Snake in it.
What else could they have? Sakura Tribe Elder.
Sakura Tribe Elder.
It's just like
Every Orochi card that ever existed.
River Boa.
Right there you go.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Anaconda. Was that like? Is that the one that's like 3/3 Swamp Walk?
Yeah.
There you go.
You don't want none.
Ambush Viper.
Yeah, perfect.
And those have a picture of like Gabby Sparks on it instead of anything else. So that would be cool. This is a
Anyway.
cool set. So
Yeah, it's by far it's much better than Annihilation. So probably if you could find it at MSRP, which will be a feat within itself, I would say
it's probably a
snap it
snap
up.
buy. Yeah, it's probably a
snap
snap
it
buy
up.
at MSRP.
Anything past that's probably a push. Unless you like, if you really want something that's in there, then obviously probably go for it. But
I could
yeah.
see this being the one that I would split with people, like knowing that I wanted certain cards.
Yeah,
So
it's just unfortunate because I think we all kind of want the same cards.
that's probably true.
Anyway, so let's move on to some Magic Online news. Now, obviously, Magic Online's kind of in a weird spot. They just introduced the play point system, and people are like selling out because of dailies, and they're now double the cost and whatever. But this is good news, all right? Theoretically, it's good news. Something that they have literally put off for years now has an expected release date, and that's Leagues. So they have in bold that says on August 26th we will start the rollout for constructed leagues only, with public access starting in mid-September. So this is pretty exciting. Leagues are something that people have wanted for such a long time, and it was obviously in earlier iterations of Magic Online they took it away. So it's very exciting to see them actually like come through with it instead of being like we will talk about leagues after this set is released or after that set is released, and yeah.
So for those who don't know what leagues are, do you want to explain what leagues are, because they haven't had them for so long?
I mean, so the key here to leagues and why they're so important, why people are so happy, it's the answer to the complaint. It's literally like the reason why like Hearthstone is so popular, or even why the Kibler's game,
Ascension,
Soulforge.
Soulforge.
Like why Soulforge was like half their business model is based off of play when you want, because one of the issues with Magic is like I'm going to draft. I have to set aside 3 hours to draft. Okay, which if you're going to a store, that makes sense. You've planned for it, but like for a quote unquote video game, you know what I mean? It doesn't work that well. Hearthstone is great because you can jump into their arena, their draft system, and then stop whenever you want to, and then pick it back up. That's what leagues do. When you join a league for like constructed, you have to play X matches of standard against this league of people. You do not have to play them all at once. You can do one now, or a couple now, and then break for a while, as long as you play within the time frame of the league. And that's really the key here. Is like, you can have these leagues for all these different types and formats. Stuff that you talk about like how like Vintage or Legacy isn't firing enough during the dailies. Well, now you can join your league, and then you have a guaranteed amount of people who will play this format, and you can play it when you want to. It's idyllic based on the current marketplace of these sort of internet games. So it's important to have this idea that I can sit down, play. I know they're starting with constructed, but like in my mind, the dream one are sealed leagues. Like, okay,
they
cool,
had those before.
right? And you can make your sealed pool, but then you can play it against a couple people, and then you can fiddle around with your pool in between, and it gives you some good experience learning the format, but you don't have to sit down and devote like, well, I need to practice sealed. I guess I'm going to lock myself in my office for 8 hours today.
Right.
So that's really the key, and a lot of people are really excited about this today, and I can't blame them. It's frustrating that Wizards taking this long to do it, but yes, it is definitely nice to see like here are hard dates. I like how they're also sort of doing it almost like Windows 10 style, like we'll give you it in these numbers at first. So if it's a complete failure, we can easily bring it back, and not a lot of people have known it failed that badly.
Yeah, and like they've been doing, they have obviously been doing beta testing for it as well.
Right.
Which if the beta tests are going well, it does hopefully speak well to the product. Now, Magic Online rollouts have not necessarily been the greatest all the time, but I think if they can nail this, then it definitely goes towards repairing the relationship they have with players.
Agreed.
So hopefully this kicks off, and if it does, then it also, is a way that they can, somewhat battle Hearthstone for market share, which
Agreed.
is, something that they've probably been ignoring, and now
Hey, remember,
it's probably
Hearthstone's
hurt them.
Not a competitor.
Yeah, I don't know if
Famous
they.
last words.
Yeah, I don't know if they really believe that anymore. It may not be a competitor to Paper Magic, but Magic Online is a product that they have to support still. So it's definitely competitor to that, and this helps alleviate some of the issues of people's time and it being precious. So I'm excited to see it happen. I hope that it goes through without a hitch, and maybe we can join some of these leagues and see how it works out. Anyway, so that's exciting news. Hopefully, Magic Online, gets their stuff together and it works. Next up, even more exciting news. So we really won't have a good kickoff to Battle for Zendikar spoilers until PAX Prime, which is the end of this month, and that's usually where they have the big Magic party. And they show a lot of new exciting reprints, usually as oversized cards, and they also have a panel. So we did get a little bit of a taste, a tidbit, if you will, of the cards that we will see, as well as the mechanics we will be seeing in Battle for Zendikar. So we have a list of the mechanics, and I'll give you the names here real quick. We have Devoid, Ingest, Awaken, Allies, and Landfall. And these will be assumably all the mechanics that we know of at this point in time for Battle for Zendikar. I don't know if there's going to be any more or not. I can't imagine there would be.
I bet there's at least one more.
Just one more that we just don't know about.
Allies isn't. So I put allies in there, but it's not a mechanic.
No.
So, but I would assume the allied forces that are against the Eldrazi will get some sort of mechanic, unless that mechanic just is Awaken. So,
Yeah.
And it could be, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one more mechanic in this set.
Fair enough. But first up, so let's start to kind of take a look at them. The first one we have is Devoid, and Devoid is actually pretty simple. It says, this card has no color. Now, in an audio format, that might not make sense, but when you look at these, say, for instance, the Dominator Drone, which is a 2 and a black for a 3/2. So we say that, but this card is colorless. So that's how Devoid works. Pretty simple. But
I like this. I think it's a simple indicator. Like, yes, you paid black mana to cast this, because people get confused about that with artifact creatures all the time. Like, well, like Vault Scourge, like, is a black creature. Like, no, like, yeah. So you have to be careful with this. Devoid makes a lot of sense. They also get a new card frame because of it.
yes, that's correct. If you notice the top of these cards, and you can really you'll obviously be able to see this better if they have non-black ones. They have a gold one where you can actually see, like, there's actually like Eldrazi scroll work. Sort of like what you would see on a Hedron, up at the top, and it looks really, really cool in my opinion. So
think like the Miracle Frame.
yeah. It's something that they do to indicate that this card is different than some of the cards you might have seen before.
Right.
Now, this common, I've seen a lot of people comment on Twitter, just because it has like an enter the battlefield ability and then 2 keywords on it, and it's just like, oh well, New World Order kind of got thrown to the wayside with this little guy.
Now, the one thing I will say is so Devoid is a new keyword, but I think it's just reminder text. So I bet under New World Order it doesn't actually count for much.
Fair enough. I guess that makes sense. But Ingest definitely counts for something.
He's hungry.
He is very hungry. So Ingest reads, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. Now, it's still, just one card, because it just, deals damage, right? Is that how that works?
Yes.
So even if it dealt, 3 points of damage, it would just be one.
Yeah, I don't know
card.
if there's going to be, this is obviously the replacement for, it appears to be the replacement for Annihilator, which they said they didn't really like Annihilator before.
Yeah,
and
but
it's understandable.
This also allows them to put this type of effect on a smaller creature like this one, not
right.
Only giant.
Which is cool. If we had that first spoiled card, the Oblivion Sower, which had a trigger that talks about cards that are already in exile. So you see how it plays with these other you've been fighting against a horde of Eldrazi. They've been ingesting parts of your of your plane, and now this one's able to access that shared information, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, because Annihilator had different numbers. How many things that you would sack. So I wonder if the more powerful the Eldrazi, the more ingest 3, whatever it is. I don't know if that's true, but
I would think if that's the case, though, this card specifically in this example would say ingest 1.
And
it just says ingest, and then there's some reminder text there. So it seems to be that's the only way they're gonna do it. Though, maybe can they put like ingest, ingest on there, like for like 2 triggers? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like
That would be kinda
they
confusing.
It'll read like what contagion engine, like ingest and ingest again.
yeah. So theoretically, yes, but probably not. I don't know.
So are we gonna get a fog effect called indigestion?
Ugh, yeah, you're quite witty, sir. Quite witty. Anyway, moving on.
What else does this guy do? Are we
hmm?
gonna talk about the card, or are we just talking about the ability?
Oh, I think it's important. We should mention what the card does because it has one other ability. You're right.
Sure, yes.
Which is important because the other spoiled card does this as well. It says when Dominator Drone enters the battlefield, if you control another colorless creature, each opponent loses 2 life. And the other Eldrazi spawn also mentions colorless creatures. So there's going to be some sort of like the Eldrazi working together. And it's terrifying that there's going to like, hey, here's a focus on colorless creatures when probably the best colorless creature like could ever have been printed in Standard in a very long time is currently dominating at the top tables. Hanging-Rack Walker's like, I see you, boo.
Yeah, so the other Eldrazi spawn we have is Forerunner of Slaughter, and it's red and black for a 3/2, and it has Devoid, so it's colorless, and you can pay 1 and target colorless creature gains haste until end of turn. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty simple card when you kind of look at it. Has a pretty cool name. I'm a fan of it.
This card's honestly like pretty good too, like just on a power level standpoint. I mean, you can compare this to something like Flint Hoof Boar.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
very
like
very
kind
similar.
of, it's very similar. It's like you get 1 less toughness, but
hmm
I mean,
But you
that
get
card was
the
playable.
ability to be able to give something else haste if need be.
Yeah.
So
So one thing I think I'm noticing, and maybe I'm just like, this is weird here, but I do want to see what the art looks like for more of these Eldrazi's because I feel like they're pulling a little bit from Attack on Titan. If you've looked, like, look at Forerunner of Slaughter. Like, if you know what Attack on Titan is, it's an anime, and the Titans. If you look up what the Titans look like in Attack on Titan, like, there's definitely this idea of like these giant humanoid creatures that are also terrifying looking. So I wonder if there's some sort of shared experience there.
Attack on Titan is very much a focus on like muscles and bone.
Yeah, like sinew. Like
Yes, exactly. And these at least like Forerunner definitely evokes that sort of imagery.
I don't know. The other one, the Dominator Drone, looks like it's like eating a human's head. So it's like a human body with like an Eldrazi on the head.
Now that you,
It's like ingesting the head. Like,
Yeah.
so I
like
don't
the
know.
Eldrazi's like just like a little frog-like thing. That's like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a head crab from
Aw.
Half-Life.
it's actually unreal.
So we do mention that allies are coming back. The next card we have on the dual deck spoiler is Veteran War Leader. That's 1 green, white for a star human soldier ally, and then its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. Makes sense. And then you can tap another untapped ally you control, and then Veteran War Leader gains your choice of First Strike, Vigilance, or Trample until end of turn. So that's pretty interesting. So as you see allies coming back, we don't know necessarily to what degree they're coming back, but they're doing a little bit of changing with what they are. They're not just like things that trigger when other allies enter the battlefield.
Yeah.
It definitely still shows them working together in some facet, but makes them less tedious to have to keep track of.
Yeah, the original printings of them, they were very similar to Slivers.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they moved away from that and made it so that, they work together in a different type of way.
Yeah, I like how this one's like, because I think original allies would have said like power and toughness equal to number of allies you control, and this one makes room for that. Like you get another bonus if you have an ally too, but it's just like a creature centric thing. So
Yeah, and it kind of makes more sense with the actual flavor of what's going on because you have, basically people that are now working together that would not have been working together.
That's very true.
You have vampires working with elves, working with humans, basically because
spoiler about Nisa's story alert.
yeah, you basically have all these groups of people that have different goals, but kind of throwing them to the wayside for a greater good, if you will. Next up, we have what is more than likely another ally mechanic called Awaken. And Awaken has a number associated with it, so Awaken X, and a mana cost. And it says if you cast this spell for the Awaken cost, also put 3 +1/+1 counters on target land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. So the example is Sheer Drop, which is 2 and a white, and it says destroy target tapped creature at sorcery speed. Now you can pay the awaken cost. It has an awaken of 3, and you can pay 5 and a white for this effect, and then you put 3 +1/+1 counters on a land, and it becomes a 0/0 land with 3 +1/+1 counters on it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this mechanic. I like it a lot. I mean, probably the thing that they did the best with the original Zendikar block was making. Obviously, they wanted lands to matter, so like with landfall they made it so that like you didn't mind drawing lands late in the game, and like this also, it gives you this particular card is probably limited only we're talking about, but it gives you a decent effect early in the game, but also if you draw it late in the game, it's still very good. I mean, it's basically a 2-for-1.
Yeah, I like the subtle wording of that. Like, it gets haste. So, because one of the most frustrating things on Moto is like accidentally like activating a land that's the wrong one, and just be like Nisa Worldbreaker on like Moto is just like the most frustrating thing in the world. Like, oh, you didn't tell me which one. Oh, but it has okay. So like now it's like haste. This will not happen again.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I mean, they obviously build the costs in when thinking about this. So I'm pretty excited about this. Again, it's an all upside mechanic. Like if you've drawn a bunch of lands, well, you draw this, and now your spell has upside. You get a creature, and you still get an effect that you're paying for. So
I'm also excited about the flavor on this. I don't know if they'll all be this flavorful, but like this one is like Sheer Drop, destroy target tap creature, and like the awaken cost is literally like this guy was walking on me, and then the land woke up and was like, I don't like this guy walking on me. I'm gonna make a cliff here. Like that's like the coolest part to me. If you happen to read Nisa's story from last week, like she definitely is able to like recognize her real power with the land and like work through the Hedron network. So like she's like all of a sudden can feel all of Zendikar at once, like how powerful it is. And like in my mind, Zendikar is just like waking up, like, you know what? Like the plan is like, I'm done with this. We're waking up.
And then the last mechanic that we want to talk about is Landfall. I mean, Landfall is coming back, and Landfall, we kind of all saw this one coming in one way or another. Again, Rosewater has been on record as saying that this is a good mechanic, that people like it, and they fully expect for them to revisit it. And they've even had like cards that are landfall cards without landfall on them sneak into core sets a lot.
Zendikar's Royal.
Yep, that is one of the more recent ones. So, I mean, we have it coming back, and I don't know what else to say. If you don't know what landfall is, it is whenever a land enters the battlefield, do X, and X is whatever is on the spell. The example we have is that actually an enchantment called Retreat to Kazandu. Yeah. And it says, landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, or you gain 2 life.
And this card already feels to me like really powerful, just like looking at it. So decks throughout this whole entire last year have been trying to figure out how they can put as many Radiant Fountains into the list while also playing regular Magic. So now here's an enchantment that's like,
they're all Radiant
hey man,
Fountains.
every land's a Radiant Fountain. You got that fetch land? It's 2 Radiant Fountains. Well, okay, 1.5.
Yeah.
Got a Hangerback Walker in play. Hey, that's more counters.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. This enchantment already seems like it could have homes in places. So
Kazandu mainly.
Yeah, probably. So we'll see what kind of happens and where we go. I mean, this is all we get until not this weekend, but the weekend after.
I mean, I thought this article was surprising. Like, this is a lot of info that they just sort of like the articles Arcana, like where they just opened up like the dual decks and played against each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really casual way to just be like, oh, by the way, here's a bunch of new stuff.
I mean, they have to. I mean, this is dual deck comes out on, I think, on the 29th. So
right. No, it makes sense.
It is something that is coming in soon. So they can't just like hold this information forever. And it's better for them to like get ahead of it than they had already had like a little insert that it actually had kind of leaked Sunday basically.
Eve.
So we knew like some things that were going to be in there, and we knew that there were going to be allies again and stuff like that. Right. So it's good that they got it kind of ahead of it, and this was planned. I think a lot of people knew that they were going to release the deck list and stuff like that, because it's typically what happens with the dual decks. So
I'm excited for the Battle for Zendikar hype set.
Yeah.
Set's really exciting to me, and
it'll be sweet. I mean, and even the dual decks even have some stuff to even pick up. I mean, you have the green white manland.
Stirring Wildwood is in there.
Stirring Wildwood. So you have a Smother, which I know it is a card that isn't necessarily like super cheap, but eh. You have
A new art for Primal Command,
yeah,
which is a really sweet art. Like people who like appreciate Zendikar style art with like the
Hedrons,
Hedrons,
yeah.
I will like that, and Consume the Meek as well.
Yeah, because the Meek and It the Betrays is another.
Oh,
big
that's
one.
also true.
Yeah,
So-
that is actually a quietly pretty expensive card. So a lot of people are happy to see that getting a reprint. So yeah, it'll be fairly interesting to see. Anyway, that's enough with that. Already we're very, very, very excited for Battle, and it's hopefully going to be a pretty sweet set. But next up, hey, they announced the Community Cup in 2015. Did you vote? Did you vote?
Wait,
Did you vote?
There was a vote?
I may not be registered to vote.
There wasn't a vote.
Oh.
They just kind of announced it.
So it was cool. We didn't know it, but we traded our vote for we as a community traded our vote in the Community Cup for a vote in the Hall of Fame and a vote to be named later. I don't know what the vote will be, but I'm sure we're going to get it.
Yeah.
It'll be
sure.
named
Yeah.
later.
But yeah, and we have some people representing us. So you have Kenji, Numa the Nummy, Yol Larson.
I'm sorry. I thought you were like, I thought you were gonna actually say his real last name, and then you said Numat the Mummy really fast, and I was like, man, you butchered his last name.
His last name is it's Kenji Igashira.
It just took me a second. I was like, what? Oh, right, yeah, Numat. Okay, fair enough.
Yol Larson, Megan Wolf, and Maria Bartholdi from Magic the Amateuring. They are also on the MTG Cast Network, so if you haven't listened to the podcast, you definitely
hilarious.
should.
Like they're really good. I just quick aside, like they're much more casual like than we are, like as far as how they like talk about the game, but they're very entertaining. I really suggest checking it out if you like that kind of like if you like other Magic podcasts.
And then we have Gabriel. He is SG Doc, a notable streamer for Magic. Jimmy Wong, Adam. I'm gonna Staborsky. And then Anthony D. Aconto.
DeConto? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
DeConto.
know.
It would be Diaconto, right?
Yeah,
I
don't know.
Okay. Wedge.
Yeah. So these are our community. These are who will be representing us at the Community Cup.
So there's repeats, which is weird.
That is weird. I agree.
And a number of people were fairly upset about that. There are a few people on Twitter who were like raging, hard against the machine. I do believe Ruben Bresler was one of them who like went on like a tear about this. And I understand the frustration because if calling it a Community Cup and then like assigning those people is a little awkward and really, really self-serving from Wizards. Like we think you guys might mess up, so no vote for you. You know what I mean? Like it was weird. I'm not inherently unhappy with any of these people. There are a few of them though I've never actually heard of.
Yeah.
And I consider myself fairly well versed in the Magic, community. So that's surprising to me. And I think there's a couple other people that like I know the one that seemed that was the person who was the most vocal, like people voting for this person who was a little upset themselves was definitely Christine Sprankle, and I sort of fell for her too because like the Wizards like went out of their way to like, hey, come to this event, and it's very well known that she hasn't gotten paid very well for those things. She has like yard sales at GPs when you go there. Like this is an actual thing. Like she just sells random things because she's doing what she loves. But it just seems like odd that it's like, hey, we're going to use your image for Las Vegas and for all this other stuff, and then not even consider you or open the vote up for you for the Community Cup. I know that's weird. So
Yeah.
it's a little odd.
I think that us as a community should always be able to vote for people for the Community Cup because what's the point of having it if we can't have a voice? Like the Community Cup is already something that a lot of people probably just don't care about. And if that's the case and you're just putting people there, no one's going to watch this. No one's going to care.
I haven't watched it in the past anyways, and I have no reason. I like Newmont. But I still don't have a desire to watch this. Heck, I like half the people in R&D still wouldn't watch
But I mean,
this.
like, you again, we've kind of gotten back to this time and time again. But you can create storylines, and people, even if it's storylines that people are creating themselves through Twitter and like through campaigns, like that's what happened last year. There's a lot of people that actually had like campaigns going to actually get them into the community cup because they really wanted to do it and represent the community, and. You take that away when you just, appoint people to this tournament. It's just not fair, and it is kind of pointless.
I mean, I could see it if the reasoning was like, you know what, we do have, some people out there that are contributing to the community that maybe are less well known. Like, some of the people on this list, I like with you, Mike, I don't know who they are, but maybe this is an opportunity for them to show, what they do, or how they contribute to the community. I mean, I'm not upset that they didn't have a vote or anything like that, though it is kind of weird that they wouldn't at least like
it's more
have
than
like
weird.
yeah, I don't know, but
go-
again, like I'm not I'm not really the target audience for this either. So
So I will say a couple of things that people are frustrated about. I understand. Like one of them, obviously, voting for the community cup, like. The fact that it isn't a vote just doesn't make sense. Like the whole philosophy behind the invention of the Community Cup is the community picks these things. It was mentioned that like this came really late this year, almost as if Wizards was like considering not doing it. And, so that's awkward in itself. Like if you don't want to do it, then you don't want to do it, but don't like fake do it. And then it's also frustrating because like. And I'm going to be delicate with this because like it's just stuff I'm reading on there. But like for example, the two awesome ladies from Magic the Amateuring, obviously have recently been involved in some pretty negative stuff in the community. We talked about this, the articles and everything else. And like instead of like letting the community rally and be like, yeah, we should pick these awesome people. A lot of people have said like this just smells funny from like Wizards being like, we picked them. It's like, well, are you really helping them in this scenario? Like, or is this like, look, we listened, and like it again feels really, really self-serving when you could have let the community do it itself. It probably would have done it the way it's they wanted it anyways, and it would have felt a lot better. So it's a little frustrating from that perspective. I mean, again, like it'll come and it will go, and I probably won't watch, but I definitely am like far less inclined to watch now than I was in the past. Like liking these people aside, it's just kind of like. Cool, hey, and a couple of people mentioned like the whole like quote unquote boys club version of Wizards, where it's just like, hey, we know these, like, hey, look, it's Kenji, and we already had him on coverage here, and we're gonna invite him back out here, and it's like, well, the whole point is to get more people out there, right? No, okay, just the people, it's weird. None of this went over well for Wizards, and it's really sad to see them take a really easy thing that should be positive once again, and watch it just kind of go.
it's not even like a serious thing. It's
Yeah, right,
like
yeah,
you
it's
could just
like-
literally just throw it out there, just put a bunch of names. It's like, all right, you guys pick, and then it would have been fine. Like nobody would.
Yeah, not a thing. And instead, it opens the door to a ton of criticism again.
I mean, I will say that, like, if there was like one person that like I voted for or that I wanted to see, I might be more inclined to watch. But now it's just kind of like, oh well, I don't know. I don't know that I would have watched it.
I'm happy for everyone that got picked. I hope they enjoy themselves and have a good time. And like, I don't think there's anybody on this list that isn't like well deserved on their own, anyways. Mm-hmm. But it's just weird in general.
Yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what was broke? Nothing.
And we're talking about Wizards, though.
I understand, but
They take away the unbroken things, replace it with broken things.
But
hey, this used to work. It doesn't now. Is that better? Did we fix it? Is that not?
It's dumbfounding for them to take something that has been positive, that people have enjoyed doing, and that some people get really invested in, and just to take all the fun away and just say this is who's representing you. Congratulations. And I know we're kind of getting to beating a dead horse territory, but I think it's ridiculous, and I think that if they had a choice between doing this or not doing it at all, that they should have just not done it at all. So, but oh well. That is that, and that is all of our community topics. So let's move on to some competitive.
We also sincerely regret not letting you vote for our community topics.
Yeah, sorry. You've never been able to do that though, so get wrecked. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some GPs. So, GP Detroit was this past weekend. What format was it?
GP Detroit was team sealed.
How many people do you need to have a team for Team Seal?
You need 3 people.
We have one.
We
two, three.
mismanaged
Oh.
our vacations. Like,
Yeah, it was like we
real
planned these things, and it was
bad.
like the one specific weekend where it's like, this is the thing we should obviously do,
Like,
and we didn't.
This is within a drivable distance to us.
now, to be fair, looking at the top 4, we didn't have a chance, guys. There are multiple like Hall of Famers.
Oh my god.
Multiple like people who will likely be Hall of Famers.
The joke running around Twitter was just like, yeah, I heard team sealed's not even a skill intensive format. Like,
Yeah,
Like,
apparently. I mean, like, I don't think like with the name. So let's just go through the teams. So we have Peach Garden Oath. We have Turtonwall, Jensen Duke. We have Pork Ben Oath, which is Ben Stark, Luis Scott Vargas, Eric Froelich. We have is that Brock Parker, right? Correct.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Matt Costa, Shahar Shenhar, and then Matt Nass, Jacob Wilson, and Sam Party.
And this is the top 4. Like some of the other teams, there was like definitely like Finkel, Jamie Park, and then one of the brothers. And I can't remember their last name, but one of the ones that Finkel had won. Like,
Oh, the O'Mahony's.
yeah,
Schwartz
that's
brothers.
it. Yeah, so it was like you just had a bunch of crazy. But this is top 4,
This is top 4.
and that's after Pork Ben Oath conceded to Costa, Parker, and Shenhar to get Costa and Parker queued for the Pro Tour. So just like they were just like having fun at the end. We're just like, oh yeah, cool. Here's this match. We're going top 4 anyways, even with 3-set breakers.
Yeah, is insane. They had just in general had an insane weekend. In all honesty, so yeah, we would have got smoked no matter what. We would have had a good time, guys. I will not deny you that. But yeah, looking at this top 4, man, whew, I would not want to be the like group of unknowns in here. And thankfully, no one had to suffer
No
that.
one had to be that team.
No.
Yeah, I will say we're not gonna say much about this because like as a format, like team sealed Origins is not exactly compelling, nor will be played often, if ever. But it was cool. Like if you go back and watch some of these feature matches and like watch some of these like play like both matches of Pork Ben Oath versus Peach Garden Oath. Both of those matches were on camera and were awesome, just awesome. So stuff to like if you like the format at all, go back and watch in the archive because it was like compelling.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I wouldn't say it's not compelling. I think like if any of us actually attended it, we probably would have had some sweet stories. Like,
Oh, sure,
if not
sure.
just from gameplay, but just from teamwork and all that kind of stuff.
Perseverance,
It-
anything
yeah.
they put on a poster with like a cool scenery.
Believing in yourself.
No, Keller did go with a couple of our other friends, and they did.
did.
Unfortunately, they did not day 2, but I assume that he had a pretty good time.
I don't think he did actually.
I talked to him a little bit. Yeah, so I don't think he won a match, but his teammates kept winning. So,
Well, I
but
mean,
they
that's good.
just barely missed out on day 2.
I mean,
but
Jacob Wilson was like 1 in 14 or something.
1 in
so-
15.
yeah, it's really funny how you can get stuff like that that happens. But yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that they do this, and they've kind of brought this back over the last couple of years because they didn't have the team GPs for a while. But the last one that I've actually played in, like, was I think a PTQ. They used to have Team Pro Tours.
That would be really cool.
So, or they at least had one.
I'd love to see. We were talking about the drive back. I would love to see because like there's not that many team GPs for the next season, and that's I'd like to see more. And I'd love to see like a unified constructed GP. I think that would be so sweet. And I don't think the logistics would be too terrible for it because like it's probably already difficult with product, let alone otherwise. So I think I hope this was the highest attended team GP ever. So that was pretty cool. So hopefully those numbers going up will inform Wizards to be like, hey, more of these.
Yeah.
Like that cool like legacy GP we're getting in Columbus. That's cool. But how about team something? Like let's look at that.
Yeah.
So
And the winners, which I don't think we noted, were Matt Nass, Jacob Wilson, and Sam Party defeating Stark, Scott Vargas, and Froelich in the finals. So congrats to them.
which unfortunately the last game of that match came down to some mana issues, which was upsetting.
Yeah, that's
But
unfortunate.
otherwise, epic matches all
But
around.
Sam Party been in some At Your End sub content, so congratulations to you, sir.
The deck tag for the deck that's not banned.
That's fine. He was in that video. It still counts. Anyway, so we're going to go back in time a little bit and talk about GP San Diego. Just for a second. Just because we have to talk about Michael Majors and his... I guess Cunha's, right? Was
Yeah,
he
it was
the
Cunha's
progenitor of the blue-red Sphinx's tutelage deck, which apparently was crazy. I never got to see this in action, which is unfortunate. But as Dave likes to describe it, like you just play Jace, and then you play tutelage, and then you loot with Jace, and then on the next turn you just make them mill a bunch of cards.
Yeah, if they don't get your tutelage off the board, then you just
You
they're half their deck is
Treasure
going to
Cruise, and then you flip your Jace, and then you Treasure Cruise with the flashback, and they milled a billion cards. It was really. I will say, if you were interested in this deck, which, I mean, there's a couple other decks in here. Like honestly, what happened this last weekend is probably more important for the format in general because
Correct.
tutelage it's a bit of a gimmicky deck. Like it can win, but
a bit.
But it was his article on Star City this week. I went through and read that, and it was really interesting. Like talking about how like mono red is actually a really really beatable deck, and half the reason why is because you can actually mill them out in very few cards. He's like they play 20 lands and 40 red cards. You double them all the time. So it's like you mill them out. Like Abzan aggro is harder to mill out than they are, just because I'm like that's actually insane. Like a Treasure Cruise on them, you can end up hitting like on a Treasure Cruise you have to hit 6 cards. He's like, but against them, like you could be hitting 8, 10, 12. Like it's pretty gross. So just something to think about, like people, because like people kept saying like, oh well, how does this beat aggressive decks? And it's like actually, the more streamlined the aggressive deck, the better the matchup actually is, which is like crazy to think about. So
Right.
deck was definitely sweet and like does cool things. And Cuneo again just comes up with this deck that's on the fringe of the format. It just can just win a GP through all this other stuff. So it's really impressive.
Yeah, I think despite it being easier to, I guess, mill out, I think it actually does have a pretty bad matchup against red or against like the aggressive.
I mean, he
decks
said
in
like
general.
Anger the Gods is the important card. Like
Yeah.
it is the key card.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how it worked out because Cuneo, I believe, was the only one that played this at the Pro Tour, and I believe he had a respectable. I think he had a winning record, but it might have been like a 6-4 or something like that. So but in the format kind of adjusted for the GP, which is the week after, and people were prepared for the red decks, and this just kind of ate up the decks that were beating the red decks and the blue-red artifact decks, the Thopter decks. So this was a great call for that tournament.
Yeah, it definitely the green-white deck was the deck that was like really the king of
Yeah.
this one. And this deck, again, that deck could not beat Anger the Gods, but also didn't have the reach that like Mono Red had. So that was that's what Kibler was saying. He's like, hey, so this deck I made is doing really well, except for against this stupid mill deck because apparently it can't beat that deck.
Right. Yeah, this deck just preys on like that green white or like Abzan, control decks and things like that. So, now again, this is pretty easy to beat if you want to. Just pack some enchantment hate, and if they don't have the tutelage, then it's very hard for them to win. So.
Yeah, so I mean, it's something that will probably be there in your FNMs and maybe your PPTQs since those are standard now. So keep it in mind, but I don't necessarily see this sort of lighting up the charts or anything like that.
Yeah, did you guys hear the story about how he came to play this deck as well?
Oh no, I
I
didn't.
did.
So,
Yeah. Again, the article is sweet.
Yeah, I the only thing that I saw basically in the whole tournament was the finals match and then his like interview after where he said like, well, I was supposed to play Abzan, but the person who I was borrowing cards from didn't have it. So I just got handed this deck and was like, well, yeah, you could play this. He's like, all right, I guess I'll play this. So he'd never played it before.
That's a beautiful story, and
yeah.
it just was a GP casually.
I mean, Michael Majors is a good player.
oh yeah, most certainly.
Well, he like the way he described it in the article too was like he was already planning on taking like he had fallen off the Pro Tour and planning on taking an extended break. Like, except just like, I'm not going to play Magic for months. That was his plan. It was like, and then like, and then he's like, yeah, I felt like the way you were saying, like he found like I found myself at like midnight, picking up Ross Merriam and driving 8 hours to San Diego. It's so good.
Great story. So yeah, that was GP San Diego. Congrats to Michael Majors. And there are some other notable names in the top 8, but I mean that was that was forever ago.
That's ancient history at
Yeah,
this point.
I mean, we need to talk about GP London, which was hosted by Star City Games, which is great. It's great to see, an American tournament organizer go over across the pond and host a nice tournament. It was an experiment. I know Channel Fireball has done either already done a European GP or will be doing one as well.
They did Liverpool.
Liverpool, that's what it was. Yeah. So it's nice to see Star City Games have their hat at it, and it was taken down by Abzan Aggro. That's a throwback. It's a little bit different than what we might have been familiar to though. It was piloted by Fabrizio Intieri, and he's playing some Hangerback Walkers in the main, 4 of them to be exact, along with the other cards you'd expect to see in an Abzan Aggro list. We have some Planeswalkers and Sorin and Johnny, Mentor of Heroes. A random Warden of the First Tree, some Fleecemade Lions, some Den Protectors, some Anafenzas, some Siege Rhinos, some lands, and Dromoka's commands, which are really good in the format currently. It turns out that when you have a lot of good, powerful enchantments like in Soul Artifact and some Mixed Tutelage, making people sacrifice them ain't bad at all. As well as Abzan Charm, Hero's Downfall, and then your assortment of various lands. So,
yeah. So I think the obvious change to your standard Abzan Aggros are the Hangerback Walkers for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
And if you look at the rest of the top 8 decks or even the top 16 decks, they are all packing the Hangerback Walkers.
So I should point out. So Tier 1, but this is BBD's list.
Yeah,
like the guy, give the guy credit. Like every time like Abzan Aggro gets good again, like he's like, maybe we should play this, and everyone's like, maybe we should play that, and it's the format just runs rampant. The other part of it is that some of the other decks that were popular in the last few weeks have pushed Languish out of the format to some extent. So this deck was able to thrive because of it. But even so, like if you bring Languish back into the equation, like Hangerback Walker still just punishes that card. It's like, what's your board say? Oh, I have a 2/2 Hangerback Walker and a Siege Rhino. Cast Languish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that card's pretty much good against everybody right now. I guess except for the blue-red mill deck. Probably not that great in that matchup.
Miserable against them, actually. But the weird thing is like how like we talk about how Languish should define the format, and it probably still is. Like I said, this deck now is built to be able to survive through it. Mono Red is full of so much burn right now that like it's like, yeah, cool, turn 4 Languish me. I've been playing creatures and holding these exquisite firecrafts in my hand, so it's sort of interesting to see how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Languish like absolutely destroys this deck. I mean, you can definitely play around it, and if you're playing against a deck,
Are you talking about Abzan Aggro?
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
okay, yeah.
But I'm saying it was able to thrive like so many of these numbers because Languish is not as present as it was a few weeks ago.
Right. I think another key card here is in the sideboard. It has 2 Tragic Arrogance.
Yes,
that card.
I think we can all agree on that. I know Mike has it pulled up on his screen. I was going to bring it up, but yeah, Tragic Arrogance definitely did a lot of work from the coverage that I saw, and really turned around a lot of board states. There were times when an opponent would have Elspeth and a bunch of tokens and this and that, and then like even a monster's Fleecemane line, and then it'd be like Tragic Arrogance. You get to keep that token. I'm gonna keep the Siege Rhino, and I guess you can keep your Elspeth because I'm just gonna attack it and kill it.
Well, the crazy thing too is like the way it works with Hangerback Walker. Like depending on the board state, like you'll either choose to keep your Hangerback Walker, or you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna sack this.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna sack this for like 1 million tokens. So yeah, that card, yeah, Tragic Arrogance put in a ton of work, and like this is how good I think this deck is. I went out tonight and traded for a place of Fleecemane Lions and Anafenzas. I have not touched any of the Abzan decks at all in this format, like knowing that like yeah they're okay. And I looked at this deck, looked at how it did this weekend, watched the deck play a couple times, and went, well, this is the truth. Like,
Yeah.
this
I mean,
is actually the truth.
And it is shocking how much synergy Hangerback Walker actually just has with the deck. You have
Good.
you have Abs and Charm, obviously. Just being able to put counters on your Walker. That's good. You also have Anafenza, which is just like, oh, I'm just gonna attack and I'm gonna put that right there on my Hangerback Walker, and that doesn't seem bad, does it? No, I guess not.
Oh, I'm gonna have my Drumworks command fight your guy and put a counter
Put
on
a
it.
counter on
Oh,
it.
cool.
Yep.
And then my guys are gonna trade with yours, and then I'm gonna get all these little flying dudes.
And you're gonna have nothing.
I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm just excited to play the deck. And I haven't been excited to play any of the like I have played Siege Rhino in a whip deck, and I have played Drumworks command in heroic, but I have refused to put it. And now I'm doing it. Now it's all coming together.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting sucked back in. So like me and Abs and Aggro have this weird relationship. It's like, kind of like one of those relationships, like we get in this like big fight and then we don't talk for like a month. And the next thing you know, it's like, you know what? I don't even remember what we fought about. It's like, why did we ever break up? Come on.
Baby,
Come on back. Come on back. And then I played the deck.
Oh man.
Yeah. Then
I
I
can't
played
sing
the deck.
anymore. That song will get sued. But
Yeah, I'm glad you cut it off there. That was good.
I'm confused. I was just singing the Swiffer commercial. What are you doing?
oh, that's an actual. I'll tell you later.
Oh, all right.
No, again, I've played some Abs and Aggro back in the day. I haven't played Standard in forever though, but I'm probably going to be playing this deck as I kept my Abs and cards. Just need to borrow a few cards from some people, hopefully, or whatever.
Dave, my man.
And there's a couple of PPTQs in Ohio this weekend that I'm going to try to go to, and have my hand to play in this sweet baby.
I might go too because I'm allowed to play in this one.
Yeah, you are. You can play Magic again, man. How psyched are you?
My sentence is up.
Until you win one again, and then you'll.
Well, sure. I mean, that's the plan.
That is.
Then I get to
true.
go play an RPTQ on a Friday, but that's a whole different.
Oh yeah.
Can of
Oh,
worms.
I guess this is a PSA. We haven't talked about this yet. The RPTQ being held in Indy is now on a Friday, the Friday before the GP at 2 p.m.
So you can play in the GP, but if you want to play in the RPTQ still, and play in the GP, you have to take a day off work and then be in Indy at 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Potentially, drive alone to Indy.
I will be driving alone to Indy more than likely,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go. So there's that.
Awkward.
So I'm hoping that it just means like 12 people show up.
But yeah, so I think we're all. I think at least Mike and I are pretty agreed that this is a fairly solid deck. Abs and Aggro was pretty good, before Origins came out, and seeing how the format shapes up, this could be very good. Now, what are there potentially any decks that we could see coming in that would be attacking this deck?
Well, so I definitely think like all you've seen in this top 16 in all reality is the fight between Abs and Aggro and Abs and Control again. And Abs and Control can be built to beat Abs and Aggro and vice versa. So you might go back to seeing Abs and Aggro that's playing like Elspeth in the main, and you'll probably see Abs and Control that has a lot more languages. Or something similar to this. Beyond that, though, there are a couple other decks that sneak in here. Specifically in the top 8, we have the second week in a row a version of the Jeskai deck top 8ing, which consistently, like, some number of these decks put up good win percentages. It's a deck I played at regionals and have actually really enjoyed. Like, Mantis Rider continues to be very good in the format. Even these Abs and Aggro decks, yes, they have Abs and Charm, but they're also playing a lot more ultimate prices as their actual, like, removal spell instead of hero. Like, I think Tyrion's List had one Hero's Downfall.
Yeah, they're really skimping on that card
So,
and
like,
going all in on the Abs and Charms.
So, like, Mantis Rider is another card that just sneaks in right on curve and just, like, against a lot of decks bashes them. The awkward thing for Jeskai is that Devotion dropped off heavily in this tournament, and like definitely like Mantis Rider against like Devotion is where the card really shines. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But any of these decks that can attack on that access can draw some cards and also get to play strong burn spells. Seems fine. Ojutai's Command also pretty good against Abs and Aggro. So interesting to see how that goes back and forth. Beyond that, like if you look at there's an archetype exemplar list. For London, we had things just outside of the top 16, like Mardu Dragons still existing. And again, in the past, like one of the best things against the Abs and Aggro, things like Crackling Doom were pretty good against them. Ways to like get a little bit of tempo. Awkward if their biggest creature is a Hangerback Walker. But,
Very much so.
You also saw like Esper Dragons is still a thing and did well. It top aided in San Diego. It took 18th here in London. So like that was a deck that definitely, at least when I played it, had at least an interactive matchup with Abs and Aggro and could beat it if it wanted to, depending how you built it.
Yeah, I mean, this format is been so dynamic. I mean, even just look at just the three tournaments. So just the Pro Tour, GP San Diego, GP in London. They're just wildly different, metagames, or like what you would see at the top or what you expect.
With one exception though, Abzan is still king. Doesn't matter what form it is, like it is just
control
king.
or aggro or what have you. That color combination is always just since cons has been consistently powerful. So, but there are still definitely a lot of decks that are capable of doing very well still. So, it is still a pretty wide open format.
Two decks have, I would say, put a fork in them though. They look pretty dead. Rally is like non-existent. The highest Rally deck at London was 97th place.
Yeah,
and they were just not doing well.
Yeah, and an abundance of Anafenzas can definitely lead to that.
Yeah, with Abs and Aggro, without Anafenza alone hoses that deck, but like we said before, like Rally was like a bad Abs and Aggro. Like you're just like playing the same colors, but you're playing a lot worse creatures in the hopes of comboing off. Abs and Aggro's greatest strength is curving out. When that deck curves out threats like Lion into Anafenza into Siege Rhino with like a removal spell, deck is terrifyingly hard to beat, and like it just card quality is a lot better than Rally. You also saw that in Soul, that deck has done nothing since the Pro Tour. Like, talk about like a deck that was like, I'm going to prey on this metagame. Bye-bye, guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I guess the common thread that you see from San Diego to London is just the rise of Dromoka's Command, whether it be in the green-white aggro decks or Abzan aggro decks. Like, people are maxing out on that card now, and that card just eats the red decks, eats in Soul Artifact. It just eats them up. So I mean, it's as long as Dromoka's Command is one of the best cards in the format, and that deck is not going to be very good.
And you're definitely right there. I mean, like the thing that the Insol deck really had going for it was that like, it had the nuttiest nut draw ever.
But nobody was gunning for it at the Pro Tour. It was just like it had free reign to just do whatever, and then once it has a target on its back, it's like, oh well. Not so good.
I guess we can't have this happening anymore.
And to further your point, Dave, like the other deck that also drops off the face of the planet is the Starfield decks, like the Constellation decks. Again, Command gets big, and it's like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to play all these artifacts or these enchantments because guess what? Tragic Arrogance blows that deck to pieces as well.
Oh, that's a lovely Eidolon of Blossoms. That's going to be your creature and your enchantment. Huh.
Goodbye, board. So yeah, definitely interesting to see. Like once as open as the format is, to see like these green, white, and these Abzan colors once again, sort of that they're the things that kill variants. Siege Rhino, you kill variants. I don't know what to tell you anymore, man. Like watch where you step.
I'm a fan of that big guy, so.
They're gonna have to like they had like plushies of a couple different things. They gotta have a Siege Rhino plushie soon, right? Like a little like
one would think
a little Siege Rhino.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. I mean, now that Abs and Aggro is kind of back, and I enjoy playing that deck, so I'm glad to see that it might be good again, and then I get to play it again. So I was worried that Languish was really going to push it out of the format. So the fact that it didn't, and that I just actually have to buy some just a few extra cards for it, then I'm pretty okay with that. It just makes me own cards I should be owning anyway. Moving on. That's pretty much all the competitive stuff that we wanted to talk about. We definitely talked a lot about Abs and Aggro already, so let's move on to the question of the week. Being that this is episode 100, it's kind of right to feel nostalgic. So based upon this and the cool series that Wizards been doing with all the Planeswalkers, specifically from Origins, and kind of diving into their origin stories, we thought we'd maybe expound a bit upon ours. I don't know. It could be something that we've done previously, but it's important to take a look back and see kind of what got us into Magic. And I just thought we would do this and take this time to maybe give you some time to reflect upon how you got started. Basically,
it's so tranquil. It's so nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
If you haven't,
I've gotten into NPR mode. So.
If you haven't seen this series, Wizards been running it, not only for the Planeswalkers, but also for all the Worlds competitors. Like they've had a couple each day of like, what's your origin story? How'd you get into Magic? And I thought that was like really kind of cool. So yeah, we're gonna share ours. If you have like cool or funny stories to share with us, like please do so. If we retread something you've already heard, we're trying to hook them new guys too. I don't know what to tell you.
So, to kind of spice it up, may I posit a shift on what would constitute origin? Because this is where, when we take a look at it, it's where their, planeswalker sparks, their spark happens. So why don't we take a look back our actual competitive origins? I mean, that's what the show's about. We try to be competitive.
So when
focused.
your spark ignites.
So yeah. So when you really got that competitive urge.
So like. When I went Super Saiyan is what you're saying.
Roughly. I mean, no, just like when you made the decision, when you kind of made the decision that you wanted to do more with what you were doing in the game instead of like stepping outside of the kitchen table and into something bigger. I think that might be good focus.
Oh, okay, I like this. All right, so let's do that then. So Dave, when did your spark ignite?
Honestly, it didn't take too long after I started. I mean, I started in, was it 98, I guess? So it was just before Stronghold came out. And my brother and I started playing together. So we both bought starter decks and just played them against each other, even though they weren't actually full decks.
Oh, you got the 75 card starter pack?
Yeah. Like I got a 5th edition one, he got a 4th edition one or something like that.
Those both are terrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. And then some people that I went to high school with had played that kind of got me into it. But I think that the thing that really kept me into the game was the fact that I found out pretty early on that they had tournaments, and I was like, oh man, that's really interesting. I played sports and I'm pretty competitive, so I was like, oh, that's really cool that they have that. And it didn't take long for me to start going to the local mall and playing in weekly Saturday. They were like unsanctioned standard tournaments, and then not long after that, I think it was like the first PTQ I ever went to was Urza Block Constructed. So I started playing around Stronghold. Urza Block was the next block. So yeah, didn't take too long for me to get into the competitive scene, and I've pretty much been going ever since. So
nice. I think I'm going to go next here.
Yeah, that's fine.
So like I definitely have like 2 Magic careers, right? Like so like one was far more casual. Like I played in high school. Like was introduced like I remember first cards being like Portal Second Age, like when they had guns. So remember that awkward time when Magic had guns? Well, they did. But like had I know like I definitely played when they were releasing like Tempest and stuff. 6th edition is the set I think I identify that with the most as like being like I remember opening a lot of packs of 6th edition, with like was it like the 2/2 troll on the front of them? I can't remember which troll it is, but stuff I got a troll on it. I'd have to go back and look. Like I played like FNM and stuff and like did well. Like for my fishbowl, I was fairly good at it, but I didn't really travel or do anything. Like I was definitely school focused and college focused. So didn't play during college. I'd sold out. But then I moved to the Columbus area by myself for 1 year while my wife was still finishing college, and I got a job down here. And I'm definitely I like when I like play like video games. I like games where like I have to like think. Like I like puzzle games. Like I'm a huge like Tetris person. Like just could play it forever. And like I always liked Magic because of the puzzle it represented. Like I know a lot of my friends, especially from up north where I first played, that they liked it for like being casual and this and that. But I liked putting together like ridiculous win conditions or like figuring ways out of games. And I went to Comic Town and I dropped like $75 and built Kolotha Red and won FNM. And like from there, started going back down there. Found out that compared to where I was playing at before, with the exception of a few people like Dan Musser and such, who had gone to a different level, that Columbus was a lot more competitive, and that I was lucky enough to have not gotten terrible at the game after being like huge. Like during that FNM where I first played, definitely got had to be told that I couldn't like stack my damage. I was very confused. Still won that FNM, so it was like kind of nice. And because I was doing well there, I got introduced to a guy named Mike Beecher, who is in our Cube group, and he invited me with you guys, with like Dave, and Dave being a much better player than I ever imagined myself being, along with a lot of people in the group, Keller, them just being much better players, and like I started doing that, and when that happened, then you guys sort of like introduced me to a couple other types of tournaments. I know the first like national qualifier they had, like it might have been the last national qualifier they had in Columbus before that shifted away, but I got to go play in that, and started going to some PTQs, and like, that's when the spark really ignited, and like since then I've gotten a lot better than Dave. That's not true. That is not true.
No, that's pretty true.
Aw. No, I think I actually don't think that's true. I think I might be better at formats, but I think from a pure game aspect, like you still do things that make me just go, that's obvious, but it's not. So trust me, we still tell the story of your PTQ win in Kentucky. Like that was.
I appreciate that. The legend lives on. Apparently,
when you just like blew Jordan and mine's mind, so they were just like I don't. God, it was great. Definitely I definitely feel like I lucked out into being competent enough at the game to get introduced to a group of people who are much more competent at the game than me, and I was able to sort of like latch onto these people and milk it for all it's worth. And once I feel like I'm done milking it, I'll probably move to a different group. But for now, I'm still happy here. No, I'm just kidding. But that's definitely I think where that competitive spark ignited. And what's funny is like I post on our Magic group on Facebook about like, hey, we should go, like, wouldn't it be cool just to play casual Magic again? And I have tried to do that. Like, I have, like, a couple old casual decks from, like, when I played in high school that, like, I was like, this would be... I can't put myself into that frame anymore. I am so... Like, I view the game so competitively that, like, there's a part of me that's kind of sad about it, where I'm like I have a hard time playing Commander, and that's a fun format for me, but I just get angry because it's like, no, this should work like this. So... just so you know, when you become a mighty planeswalker in your Sparking Knights, you do lose a little bit of yourself.
It's like the Matrix. It's like once you know what's really going on, there's just no going back.
It's like you're going to the like you just like put me back in,
Yeah,
just like pull me back in for a little bit. Like back when I thought Cork's Thumb was really fun. Can I do that? Because like now I look at that card and I go, I wish I could do that, but just can't bring myself to.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. So for me, when I kind of decided to transition past F&M, the only thing I can really like think about and really latch onto is I don't have as most of our listeners know, I don't have much of a history as much as you guys do. I was a bit late to the party when it came to competitive Magic, but I remember latching on really early on to Wolf Run Ramp, that sweet Primeval Titan deck with Slag Storms and all that good stuff. And I remember playing that deck, and I don't know which came first, whether I played in the open or played in an IQ. But I do remember specifically top 8ing the IQ and thinking that it was good. Like it was my first top 8, and I still have that pin. And I remember like just wanting to keep going and wanting to continue to pursue it. It had to have been before even I was really good friends with Mike or anyone else in the group, because I know that Mike and I really didn't start becoming friends until we split and Avacyn restored pre-release.
Still sweet.
Yeah, that was the first time I beat Justin Aiello, and it was great. It felt so good. And because I knew that, as the one thing you know about Justin is when you start playing in Comic Town is that he's really good at limited, and so it felt really good to beat him. I hadn't done that before, but I just remember like going to those really early, like the early Columbus Open, and then an early IQ and playing that deck and just like wanting to. I remember. In the Open, playing round 1 against the mirror match, which I didn't expect because the deck had kind of fallen out of favor. So I was really surprised to play against the mirror match, and I lost. I remember losing a lot in the Open, but I definitely remember top 8ing that IQ and losing in the first round of top 8, but still feeling successful and still wanting to kind of pursue that competitive aspect of the game. And another really good memory I have is early on. It was the first time that I traveled outside of Columbus, and we went. It was just after Return to Ravnica came out, and still was kind of still just casual friends with Mike and to a lesser extent Dave and even Jordan. And remember traveling with Elliot and our friend Andrew to the Cincinnati Open after RTR came out, and like going to, I think we went to Illuminati and trying to find cards for, I was going to play Green Leg Zombies, which is a terrible idea, and I should have just not played that deck. But I remember doing that and like having like that first experience of like going like traveling with some friends, and unlike you guys, like I wasn't really competitive as a kid and didn't have I didn't play sports or anything like that.
I don't understand that mindset. Got to go for the kill all the time.
Yeah, I just it wasn't me. I was I mean, I wouldn't say I was necessarily a loner, but I definitely was more of an indoor kid than an outdoor kid growing up. And if you've ever met me in person, it's not shocking for that to be the case. So this was like the first time that I had to like just like have that team mentality or have that competitive mentality about something. So it was kind of a really new experience for me to have rather late in life. Oh,
this is why people do that. I get it.
But yeah, I mean, like it was really awesome, and it was really good to kind of be a part of something that you hadn't really done previously in your life. So it's still kind of like that. I still kind of suck though. So
I think it's really cool with that, to take that idea, because like I said, like I can't go back to the casual idea, and you saying like having that experience later in life, and like flashback to last Friday, we're sitting at that F&M in Orlando, Florida, and I'm sitting next to Morgan playing against a guy, and this guy's like, so you ever play like any bigger tournaments? And he's like, oh yeah, I've done a couple of these, and like the guy's like, oh, like hundreds of players, and you were like, what word?
Oh, it was like thousands of players sometimes.
The guy was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And I was like, it's like we were there, you know what I mean? Like we were there, like I was there going like, oh, I just play like F&M and stuff. So like it's cool, like that it doesn't like this game offers that sort of chance, because if you were an athletic person, sports don't really offer that chance. Like once you're past like high school, if you weren't like eligible in college, you don't get to play in those sort of arenas. Right. So it was cool, like just to hear that, like that, that's an adult asking another adult, and like still having that motive of like, wow, thousands, like like Morgan, like yeah, thousands.
Yeah, you got kind of lucky. You kind of came in during like the golden age.
Yeah, I came in on a high tide,
like the Renaissance really of Magic.
Yeah, because like when I first started playing. Back in my day, we had PTQs, like states, regionals, and like GPs that were drivable. Like you didn't have any IQs, and they didn't have an open series, and they didn't have like TCG 5Ks and all this kind of. They have like literally every weekend you can go to something.
Yeah,
you can PTQs and whatever else now. So. I mean,
any acronym that you would want to go to, it's out there.
Oh yeah,
but it's your fault, which is nice.
It's my fault.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the game has grown because like of players like experiencing like these moments of of spark ignition. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it's not like Sean just needs to like light an entire like room of players on fire. But but in all seriousness, like it's cool to see that growth, and hopefully it will continue. So
yeah, cool. I can't imagine it not. Like I said, I mean, when we take a look at Cons Block, which is all in all been very successful, I feel like moving into Magic Origins, which is one of the best quote unquote core sets that's ever been released in a very, very long time, and then we're moving into Battle for Zendikar, which from the tidbits that we got today seems like it's a very interesting set and has returning mechanics like allies as well as landfall and amongst new interesting mechanics that we've never kind of experienced before that are going to play in interesting ways. I can't see less people being interested in it. So I think that Magic definitely has its spots to grow. I think obviously Magic Online is a thorn in every competitive Magic player's side. We want it to be good, and we see its competitors succeed while it stumbles. So I think that on that front we want more, but as far as the core of the game, the cardboard cards, I mean, Wizards keeps knocking out the park. R&D is doing a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I think like from a design standpoint, they've definitely gotten to the point. Like it felt like for a long time they were like trying not to mess up, rather than just making sets that were just awesome. Like I feel like now it's like they have the confidence that like, okay, we're not gonna like print anything that's too crazy, or we're not gonna like have a format that's like bad. So they've gotten to the point where they're confident that that's not going to happen. So now they can just focus on making just awesome, flavorful sets that are good for constructed and for limited. And I feel like for the last year and a half, I mean, they've done a really great job with that. So
I would definitely will say, like, as we, this is a cool point to like look at for like episode 100 of this, of At Your Instep, and like this whole idea for Magic. But I will say the one thing is that the thing that's kept us podcasting, 100 episodes and into the great beyond. Okay.
hopefully hundreds more.
I said like I've always enjoyed, like you said, like played every puzzle game you could possibly get. Anything that had logic to it. Out of anything I've ever played, you know what I mean. I played a lot of. I have a lot of great like video games that are favorites. Anything else, but out of any game I've ever played, Magic as a game is the best game I've ever played. There's a reason that it draws you back in like that, and it's literally for a game that's over 20 years, it's only gotten better. Trust me, there's a lot of series I love. Mega Man, 10 happened, and I liked Mega Man 10, but they had to go back to 8-bit to make it even playable. Okay, there's a lot of ways to ruin a game in 20 years. Capcom, I hate you. Sorry, it's getting really personal, but
yeah.
But in all seriousness, like, I'm excited to keep seeing where it goes. Like, at some point, you would think as an adult, I'd be like, all right, yeah, new set, okay, cool. But I'm not. I am chomping at the bit every time.
Yeah.
So I guess thank you, Wizards. I hate you, Wizards, but thank you, Wizards.
Yeah, it's that love-hate relationship all Magic players have.
Please take more of my money.
Yes.
It's yours.
And that kind of puts a close to the show. So let's move into the wrap up here. Over the weekend, we have a Star City Games Open in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is modern because that's all you can play in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if you know this, but it's modern only down there, at least for main events. And then there are a couple PPTQs in the Ohio area. I'm going to pull them up here real quick. I believe the one on Saturday is in Findlay, Ohio. And then there's one in Hamilton, Ohio on Sunday. And I believe that the one on Sunday is at Illuminati. I'm going to pull up the store name for the one in...
No, these are standard.
Yes,
now,
they
so
are
this is the next
standard.
season.
Yes, correct. And Dueling Grounds is the name of the store in Findlay, and that's going to be on the 22nd. And then on the 23rd, it'll be Illuminati in Hamilton, Ohio. I believe Findlay is up north from Columbus, and then Hamilton's near Cincinnati down south. So,
Yeah, that'll be cool.
yeah, so hopefully I might try to go to both. I at least want to go to one, so we'll see kind of how it shakes out. But yeah, I'll be playing some standard. Oddly enough, we'll see how that goes.
I'm glad you've been invested and tested that format a lot.
Yep, just about as much as any other format, right?
So we should take this moment here before we actually leave then to thank everybody who listens.
Yes, thank you, listeners. We couldn't. We would still be doing this without you. It would be far less entertaining or fun. But knowing that we have such a strong and committed listener base is huge. It gives us something to do. It gives us something to provide to a group of people that really appreciate it. So we are glad to be doing this for you, and we hope that you can continue to support us by listening, by subscribing, by following us on Twitter, by providing us with feedback as much as you possibly can. We truly appreciate it. Anytime that we see you guys at GPs or at any other Magic events, and you come up and say hello or what have you, or say you're a fan of the show, that means a lot to us, because we do this out of a passion for the game, but also a passion for the community, for everyone out there that wants this kind of content. Because when we started, when we decided that we wanted to do this, and Jordan kind of kicked us in the butts to actually get it started, we wanted something that we wanted to listen to. We wanted something that was focused on the competitive aspect of the game, and week in and week out, that's what we try to provide. So we hope that you have enjoyed it for the past 100 episodes, and we hope you continue to enjoy it for the next 100 and the next 100 after that.
And seriously, like with that in mind, please give us feedback on the logo when you see it. Like, we're not just looking for people to tell us it's awesome. Like, let us know what you think about it. Like we want real feedback on it. Same with the origin story. Share origin stories. Send us on. Tell us on Facebook. Send us on Twitter. Like, I mean, I think it's really cool to see where people got connected to the game, and I think it's cool for Wizards to see where people get connected with the game, because like if there's a point in history that like a time that connects you to the game. You can tell already what they're doing. Like, hey, we're going back to Zendikar because I know a lot of you guys like Zendikar. I mean, that's cool information to know and help builds the community. So.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's really interesting to see when there is so as we pointed out. There are times when we started playing Magic, and then there's times when we started like really playing Magic. And like really trying to be competitive with it and to do something to not necessarily make a name for yourself, but to be more than just a hobby and make it into something that holds a bit more significance in your life. And I think that those moments are really interesting because it means that this game has taken on more than just your typical video game or board game or something like that. Like, this is in some ways a bit of a lifestyle and a bit of a bonding experience, and you form friendships and you form groups around this game that lead to far deeper friendships than what you may have even bargained for in the beginning. So this game does a lot of good things to a lot of people that may not have had these outlets like I did when I was younger.
The outlets were there. You just
didn't pursue them. But it's really great. So I am interested in seeing where that happened, where that change in your head happened, where you're like, I want to do this more in a competitive manner, because I think like that is also sometimes a very defining point in people's lives.
So. Just going off of that, I just have a personal story to tell because I think this is pretty cool. So I have a daughter who just turned 6 a couple months ago, and she's never really expressed any interest in Magic or anything like that. She knows that I play, but she doesn't know how to play or really even cares about it. So a couple weeks ago, she went to the store with my wife, and she was going to get she wanted to get one of those Funko Pop figures
and the vinyl figures.
The vinyl figures, yeah. And she was trying to get a Frozen one, and apparently they were all out of the the Frozen characters. Mm-hmm. So she came home with a Chandra Nalaar figurine, and my wife just kind of looks at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I had nothing to do with that. She picked it out." so I was just like, "Hey, honey, look, I actually have her card. Do you want to see that?" like. This is her when she was a little girl, and then if you turn it over, it was like, so she's actually like kind of interested in like the storyline of it now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you build it, sometimes they will come, as I've heard in movies.
Don't you dare desecrate one of the greatest films.
I'm not because
I'm just making sure, like
because Wizards, not to go off on a tangent near the end of the show, but
we've been doing that for a while, actually.
But Wizards is building a story. And people will flock to it, and you get different demographics when you build something that has a narrative.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, the narrative is the way, especially like for a kid. Like that's you talk about these story moments and origins, and like we can sit back and say that's cool as the card playable, but for a kid, like this is when Chandra got like so angry that she was able to like do this, and then you're like, she did what? Yeah.
Well, I mean, she just got it because she thought it like looked cool. But I was telling her, I was like, oh yeah, there's a whole like story behind that, And she's used to like seeing, watching TV shows and getting figures off of that.
I do find it somewhat hilarious, just in my own sense of irony, that she wanted a Frozen character, the one who could like touch things to turn to the ice, and ended up with the one that has fire for hair,
right?
And can't help but burn things down,
right?
Interesting,
yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know.
So,
she's a redhead too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what color is her hair?
Interesting.
I might be in trouble.
Hide the matches.
Anyway, well, please do give us a follow on Twitter. We are at Your End Step, which is so good to say still every time. Also find us on Facebook. Just do a search for at Your End Step. We have a website at yourendstep.com and an email address at yourendstep@gmail.com. So plenty of ways to contact us, to follow us, to stalk us in some facet. Also subscribe to us on iTunes if you have an Apple device of any sort. That's one of the quickest ways to get the show. And then we are also on MTGcast. They are one of our great partners, and we really appreciate their service. So while you're there downloading our show, you can check out Magic the Amateuring or any of the various wonderful shows they have available for you to peruse. And then of course, last but not least, definitely check out Comic Town. You can check them out at comictown.net or search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Wonderful events, wonderful store. If you're into Magic, if you're into comics, they have it all there. Great staff. So be sure to check them out if you are in the Columbus area. But that is everything this week for At Your End Step. We will catch you guys next time, and you have a great one. Bye.